Disney has been absolutely dominating when it comes to story-oriented cartoons lately, with The Owl House and Ampibia having quickly become two of my favorite shows. When Disney announced a new series on the way involving ghosts, I was hoping we'd get something reminiscent of Gravity Falls again, so went ahead and watched the first 5 episodes when they dropped on Disney Plus today to see what the show is all about. My name is Deepcut, welcome back to Cartoon Universe, and today we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the Ghost and Molly McGee. The show focuses on the titular character Molly McGee, a young girl who unwittingly gets the ghost haunting her home to become her best friend. The first episode opens with a strange council of ghosts, insisting that another ghost on trial has failed in keeping up the misery in a town that they are in charge of haunting. The council is ruled over by a Grim Reaper-looking figure simply referred to as the Chairman in this scene, and he sentences this ghost to a fate referred to as the Flow of Failed Phantoms, a sort of cyclone filled with spirits who seem to have not lived up to their duties as ghosts. Following this ghost interview, they summon Scratch, a low-class and crude ghost that the council doesn't like, but who does a good job of haunting his hometown of Brighton, where he keeps people miserable. Scratch is clearly the kind of person who wants to be loved, but due to him giving in to his baser urges, no one wants to put up with him. When he is left out of an outing the council is going on after his review, he insists that he is happy being alone, but unfortunately for him, Molly McGee is going to try and prove him wrong. Molly and her family are moving into a new home, one that happens to be the home of Scratch's ghosts. There, they express both concern for the state of the house, but also gratitude that they have found a place that they can call their forever home, as they had to move a lot for her father's work and seem to be struggling financially. Molly immediately takes the attic as her bedroom, much to the dismay of Scratch, who seems to enjoy that room in particular. He makes no effort to hide himself from Molly or her family, and instead tries to use his ghostly powers to scare them into leaving. The end result of all this was Scratch putting a curse on Molly McGee that he would forever haunt her, an attempt to scare her out of the home. But all this does is seal their fates together, making it so that he always has to be haunting her, so that even if he tries to leave, her calling his name will summon him back to her. While the family isn't stoked about this at first, they get over it after they hear how unconcerned Molly is about the whole thing, and Scratch resigns himself to being annoying in the background. Molly's Thai grandmother explains that many houses had ghosts back in Thailand, and they actually had their own ways of dealing with them, such as providing miniature homes for spirits to inhabit and leaving food as offerings. Molly uses a toy dollhouse that Scratch finds rather enjoyable when he shrinks down in size, giving him his own private space, and gives into the idea of the McGee family living in the real house as long as Molly's family gives him food that he likes, and the segment ends with them more or less being happy with their new status quo. That being said, we can see that the chairman from the beginning of the episode is monitoring the misery in the town of Brighton, and it seems that Scratch's inability to get Molly and her family to leave has caused the town to be slightly less miserable than before, setting up a more serialized story where Scratch could end up facing the flow of failed phantoms if the people of Brighton get too happy. The Ghost and Molly McGee uses a half-hour segment with 2 smaller stories, each taking up half that runtime. The second segment for the first episode featured a story involving Molly going to school, where we meet the characters that make up the town of Brighton. Molly makes a bad first impression when she struggles to pronounce the name of the local popular girl Andrea multiple times right in a row, much to the glee of Scratch, who is hoping that Molly bombs so bad at her first day at school that she'll convince her parents to move and start over again somewhere else. By the end of the episode, Scratch begins to care about Molly and decides to actually help her by possessing the body of the bully Andrea and forcing her to tell the kids to give Molly a second chance, and Molly ends up sowing the seeds for a friendship with another girl in the school named Libby. Each episode after this tends to focus on Molly's attempts to fit in the new community, with Scratch often using his ghost powers and bad morals to get Molly in over her head. You never know how serious a cartoon is going to be these days, but so far it seems to be skewed at a bit of a younger audience than shows like Ampibia, and especially shows like The Owl House. While the first episode is enjoyable for anyone of any age, future episodes feel a bit more simplistic, though always manage to be funny and charming. The art style for the show, particularly the backgrounds, give it a very comfy look that is great for this time of year, so even if you don't think you are going to like the show, I still recommend watching the first episode. It is available for free here on YouTube, and I will link it in the description down below for those who want to check it out. While I think plenty of kids are going to enjoy the show, I personally didn't find it to be to my taste quite yet. While the idea of ghosts are exciting, they feel extremely underutilized within the show, and the designs and personalities of the ghosts are pretty underwhelming. The general style of them is appealing, combining classic ghost design with some nice colors and effects, and when they try to go scary with it in the pilot, things can be a little unsettling. But Scratch in particular is a bit of an ugly character, both inside and out. And while that is somewhat meant to be the point of the character, there's just very little that I found redeeming about him. While I like Molly, Scratch also learning to like Molly is not enough to make me like him. The other ghosts aren't all that much different either. Despite Scratch being seen as the crudest among them, even the ghosts based off of historical figures are portrayed pretty similarly in terms of style and tone, making it hard for me to find any of them very likable. The human characters, on the other hand, are actually much more interesting. Molly is a great spirit for the main character, and her little brother always steals the show with his wacky hijinks. The school popular girl, Andrea, is also a lot of fun. While she looks and acts like the typical social media elitist popular girl from any other show, they always go the extra mile to make her own person with her own tics. When Molly mispronounces her name, she isn't even really upset. It isn't until Molly has a nervous breakdown trying to pronounce her name that Andrea gets her aggressive reaction. And she doesn't act as an antagonist in every episode either. She's just part of this broader community that these characters live in and interact with. One character I really do not enjoy is Molly's father. Every episode seems to take random jabs at him, always in a way that just seems malicious, just hating on someone for being naturally incapable. It is a weird dynamic because Molly doesn't have a disdain for her father, yet he is always set up like we are supposed to laugh at him for every single little failing he has. While I don't think we will see the story get nearly as serialized as Amphibia or the Owl House eventually became, each episode shows Molly making some sort of difference in her town, and as the first episode implied, the people of Brighton are getting happier and happier. So at some point the chairman is going to have to address this, and with the show already being renewed for season 2, who knows what might happen along the way. That is all I have about the Ghost and Molly McGee today, but if you love Disney cartoons, I'm excited to let you know that we will be hosting a live stream Q&A with the creator and voice cast of the Disney Channel animated series Amphibia, this Sunday, October 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will include a link in the description down below, as well as in a pinned comment to the live stream, so you can set a reminder so you don't miss it. We are going to have the whole Frog family there, with Bill Farmer, the voice of Hop Pop, Justin Felbinger as Sprig, and Amanda Layton as Polly. For humans, we'll be joined by Anna Akana, who voices Sasha. We've got Troy Baker as Grimes, representing the Toad Army, and Zara Fazal as General Yunnan, the youngest ever general of the Newt Army. Finally, series creator Matt Braley will be coming as well, with all of them ready to answer your questions about the show live here at Cartoon Universe. Some of the voice actors will be signing autographed prints all weekend long, and you can buy your own before we get there and watch them sign it live on the air. Simply use the Streamily link in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment to get yours, and I'll see you guys there.